Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of Superintendent Unplugged, In Depth with Davis, the podcast where we'll dive deep into the world of educational leadership. I'm your host, Addison Davis, and I'm thrilled to have you join me as we embark on the inspiring journey together. As a superintendent once myself, I understand the challenges and complexities that come with leading a school district. But what I've come to realize is that there's abundance of amazing work being done by superintendents all across our country. This podcast is a platform to shine a spotlight on their incredible accomplishments and innovative approaches. Each episode will bring you exclusive interviews and superintendents from various districts across our country, both big and small, urban and rural, as they share their personal stories, triumphs, and even their moments of vulnerability. We will explore the strategies they employ to tackle the ever-evolving landscape of education, from fostering equity and inclusivity to embracing technology and preparing students for their future. But this podcast isn't just about showcasing success. It's about fostering a community of educational leaders who can learn from one another, share their experiences, and collectively navigate the complexities of our role. We'll discuss the tough topics as well, the difficult decisions, and the innovative solutions that are transforming education for the better. So while you're an educator, a parent, a student, or simply someone who's passionate about education, this podcast is for you. Superintendents Unplugged is your behind-the-scenes pass to the world of educational leadership, where we uncover the stories that inspire, motivate, and empower every one of us. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and entertained as we embark on this incredible journey together. I can't wait to introduce you to the remarkable superintendents who are changing the educational landscape one district at a time. Welcome to another episode of Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis. I'm Addison Davis, your host, here live from Dallas, Texas, at the 68th Annual Council of Great City Schools Annual Conference, where the greatest leaders come together to be able to problem solve, find trends and patterns in this work. And today, here, we have the greatest educational leader in the K-12 space, Alberto Carvalho.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you so very much for being here, sir. And listen, for me, I have to tell you, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me as a leader. I wouldn't be who I was as a leader in Hillsborough, without your continued guidance and support. And for that, I'm so grateful. And I see you do that across the nation, to be able to take individuals in, help them build capacity, help them problem solve. And I'm so grateful for that. I want you to know that, sir.
I appreciate that. It's not just doing for you, it's actually impacting future generations of leaders with a consequential direct and indirect impact on the end users, principals, teachers, ultimately students, families, economically uplifting entire communities. That's the work that superintendents do. And you did it. You don't just talk about it. You did great work in Hillsborough County. You uplifted many. You gave them first and lasting chances. So in as much as you tout somebody else's accomplishments, do not shy away from recognizing your own.
Well, I appreciate it. And for you, both coasts now, East Coast, West Coast, we haven't seen a leader go into, number 4 largest school district in the nation, Miami-Dade, 14 years superintendency, going in 2008, the Great Recession, turning around one of the biggest financial deficits ever, moving it from a school district from X into a place that had no DNF schools, financially solve it. I mean, all from a dream of yours to be able to have the greatest impact, now to come into the West Coast, number 2 district in the nation, leading so many kids, so many impact. From your perspective, that either or it's on both sides of the nation, the work's still the same. And, how have you been so successful doing it? 14 years of being a superintendent in Miami-Dade. Oh my gosh. I mean, I lasted 8 years superintendent. I don't know how you've done it with 16 years plus. What's the secret recipe, sir?
Well, number one, I think starts with commitment. I love what I do, and I only do it because I love it.
Yes, sir.
Secondly, embracing best practices, surrounding yourself with really talented zealots for the work. Individuals have the perfect balance of belief, skill, and will. They really believe in this work. They believe in the impact that the work has in their communities. They are highly skilled individuals, best in class in their professional arena. But for me, equally important is the fact that they have a high level of will. They have the courage to do the work that seems to be impossible to be done, but becomes inevitable over time. Secondly, East Coast, West Coast, guess what? All kids have 23 chromosomes,
That's right.
which means they all have innate ability to perform. So I've never met broken kids, but I've met systems that break their spirits, their dreams,
That's right.
their aspirations.
That's
So I'm not in the business of fixing broken kids. I'm in the business of fixing broken systems that often make adults feel comfortable at the expense of the possibility that can be realized by kids. That basically is what continues to motivate me 32 years in as an educator and about 17 years in as superintendent. East Coast, West Coast does not change a best practice, a theory of action, a drive, a passion, and a dream. And I continue to dream that this country will be a better country to the extent that we continue to fix public education. That is the only opportunity we have as a nation to actually evolve as a more powerful, more unified democracy as to what we do in America's classrooms.
And so well said, sir. And you talk about giving children and communities a sense of hope. You give it to them every day, and the inspiration that you give not only to children but to families, the communities, and you give them they have this sense of trust when you walk through any door in any classroom in any community event, and they know that your heart is always there. And you talk about systems and processes, which I believe that it's the recipe to success. One thing that I learned as superintendent took away is datacom, and bringing that accountability side of it. And it's not only accountability, but looking at the 360 accountability where everybody has ownership. For leaders that may be listening or watching, can you explain that process? Because I believe it's something that you started, and it just grew legs across the nation.
If you can influence and significantly improve the performance of the lowest performing schools in any one community, you're going to get a number of consequential results. Number one, generations of students and families that have been failed by districts will produce the highest level, statistically highest level gains. This is a matter of justice and equity. These are the communities, the schools that for decades never saw significant improvements.
Yes, sir.
So how is that done? That is done by, number one, bringing the leader closer to those schools and bringing those schools closer to leadership.
Wow.
That is why in Miami-Dade, I had about 80 schools that reported directly to me under the Education Transformation Office. In LA, largest scale school district, 121 schools out of the over 1,000 schools report directly to me, and a fantastic education transformation officer. Obviously, for schools to be in this network, under this umbrella of support, we differentiate funding, we heighten the support, we elevate the accountability, the monitoring, the coaching, the supervision, the intervention. We deploy the best-in-class resources and the best-in-class strategies that are proven to work. With these schools, there's no room for experimentation. You have to deploy and apply the true, the tested, that has actually produced results elsewhere with similar demographic profile students. The datacom process in Miami, the data dialogue process in LA is indeed a best practice.
I stole it.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. And
I appreciate you helping me through it.
Yeah, it's being replicated and amplified across the country by many leaders because it is a good practice. Look, it is a data-informed conversation where the principals sit at the cabinet table with my executive team and myself. They have to explain their data. They have to explain their strategy. They have to detail their glows and their grows. They have to be honest. They have to be data driven. And then they have the opportunity as part of that process to make demands of the school system, demands of me and my team, demands that must be reacted to and addressed real time at that moment.
That's right.
That is the magic sauce, is that in these schools, there is no waiting. The urgency is so heightened that that leader, that school deserves solutions, answers to be revealed, applied immediately.
That's right.
That is the level of emergency. And guess what? It works. Just recently, the state of California released its achievement data.
Yes, sir.
And here's what we saw. Number one, across the district, this is historic. All grade levels, all subject areas tested. Los Angeles Unified improved in terms of the percentage of students meeting and exceeding standards.
Wow.
Also a reduction in the distance from standard for all students. State of California compared to Los Angeles Unified in reading and math. How about this? 500% rate of growth improvement in Los Angeles Unified compared to the state of California.
Wow.
In reading. In mathematics, 300% rate of improvement. Where was that improvement seen in the most significant way? With the historically lowest performing schools, where in grades 3, 4, and 5, they improved at 3 to 5 times the rate of improvement of the district.
Wow.
Guess what else? African American students, English language learners, Latino students, socioeconomically depressed students outperformed their counterparts across the state for the very first time ever.
That's
in
crazy.
fact, they entered the pandemic underperforming compared to their counterparts in the state. On the basis of this month's release, they are now outperforming their counterparts.
And that's systems and processes, accountability, selecting the right principals, giving them the resources, the tools they need, selecting the right principal supervisors, having calibration walks, creating common language, reviewing analytics to prescribe the work.
That's right.
All of these things are in part of it.
They work. And you know what? You are so fluent in detailing these. And you know why? Because those are all best practices. We no longer have a skill set deficit across America. It's not that we don't know what really works. No longer a skill set deficit. We have a will set proposition, a will set problem. Is we know what works, but we are afraid to push against the status quo because we know what the fire coming back at us is.
That's right.
And, you know, if you are like some superintendents, they don't want to risk it.
That's right.
But here's the problem. If you don't risk big, the reward will never happen. You get fired for lack of results. So my bet is, you know, risk being fired.
Yeah, you taught me never to be job scared.
Yeah.
You taught me to always do what's best for kids and no matter and be unapologetic for what we do. You also told me the equity index has to be in place all the time.
Absolutely.
And those are the elements. And I get it. I mean, we got to understand that innovation is our superpower. And in those processes, it requires courage and active communications to build simple, clarity and executional plans to be able to drive forward. And, you know, from your side of it, we see so many superintendents that you're right, that don't want to push it. And you got to take risks. I mean, look at the rewards that you've seen. Miami-Dade, 14 years, unbelievable. And then here we are transitioning, doing the same body of work and creating 300 to 500% movement related to the state of performance. It's because of high expectations coupled with high support.
Absolutely. And, you know, we improved the credit rating from all credit rating agencies, reducing liabilities into millions of dollars, launched a cultural arts passport. We launched a family academy. We decreased chronic absenteeism by 50%, increased average daily attendance back to pre-pandemic levels.
Wow.
So when you're doing a work that is not guided by destiny, it's guided by design, wrapped around best practices, wrapped around all that we know works, then the results are cumulative. It's not just a one and done. It's not a flash in the pan. These are progressive results on the business side, financial, academic, operational, leadership, community, trust, and believability. And it pays off. Look, in Miami, as you know, we passed 2 referenda. And one for capital construction.
Loved and still loves you.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
one to increase teacher salaries, improve security. The other one for facilities. We now have a $9 billion bond referendum on the ballot for Los Angeles Unified. You know why? Equity. You know, we walk into schools, there are 21st century Taj Mahals, and we walk into other schools that have not seen paint on the wall in 40 years. Yeah. We got to do something. And to do something, you need courage, you need leadership, and you need a fantastic team around you to actually propel this journey.
And the one thing that you've always historically done is hired well. I mean, nationally going and bringing and identifying first round draft picks to lead the work, and those who are willing to stand up and lead through your direction with you and take your vision is the greatest vision we have and put it in motion. And for that, I've learned that as well. And, as for, upcoming superintendents, for those who aspire to be in this job or continue to stay in this job, what would you say to them?
My strongest advice to incoming superintendents, to current superintendents is know your vision, know who you are, know your why, develop your how, perfect your practice, learn from the best practices that are out there nationally and internationally specific to districts that look like yours, demographically parallel yours. Look for those that are outperforming yours and then dare to punch above your weight. Surround yourself with the most skilled zealots you can find. Love what you do. Love what you do. If you do not love what you do, you're never going to be great at what you do. Yeah. And lastly, dare to be fired for doing the right thing. I promise you, if you risk being fired for doing the right thing for kids, more than likely you will not be fired because the results will be there.
That's right, sir. And I appreciate it. And we talk about courage for superintendents to have sponsors or mentors in this process. One of my individual I needed the most when I was going through a $150 million deficit in Hillsborough. I mean, I encourage others to reach out and to make the connection and listen and learn and don't be afraid and understand that, lean on someone that's done this in so many different places.
That made you a special leader. And superintendents don't do that enough. We do not lean on one another sufficiently. Sometimes we feel that we are the superintendent.
Yeah,
we are the leader. We're the CEO.
Right?
We need no help from anyone. Actually, a dimension of leadership is knowing where to seek advice,
Yes, sir.
where to seek counsel, where to fortify your practice. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of the most successful people I know lean on others to improve their own practice. If you are a leader and you feel that because you've reached the pinnacle of your career, you are at the top, you can relax. You no longer need to improve your skill set. More than likely, you're already on the descent. No matter how high you are positioned in terms of your career level, you can always refine, improve, adapt, abandon practices. Right. Adapt those that work, abandon those that don't. And sometimes the best way to do that is by having a voice available to you to independently and objectively advise you. That's right. Asking the question, how am I doing? Tell me, as a friend, as a colleague, as an objective interpreter and witness of my work, what could I do differently? How would you handle this situation? That is a powerful thing that not enough of our colleagues do.
I agree, sir. And again, I can't not thank you enough. And thank you for taking the bold steps to move out of a place you could have stayed forever. And then going to be able to impact 1 million children every single day. Yeah. It's seen, it's witnessed across this nation. You continue to lead with such grace, with a presidential status, but also it's about action. The organizational impact that you've had in multiple school districts in the top 5 hasn't been done anywhere.
No, thank you.
And for you, and we're so grateful to be able to watch, to learn, to listen, to grow, to engage. And you even being here at the conference just gives inspiration to so many people. So
thank you.
I appreciate you for what you've always done for me and what you do for everybody out there in this community. So
thank you, Addison. Look, for me, it's personal, just like it is personal to you. I see myself in the eyes of the kids I serve. Secondly, as an immigrant to this country, education saved me and made me. I went from being a poor, homeless kid in this country, sleeping under a bridge, blocks away from the office that years later I would occupy as superintendent in Miami. Now moving to Los Angeles, the place of stars. It feels like a dream, but it's not a dream. I do believe that belief, skill, and will that I talked earlier about can turn anyone's impossible into everyone's inevitable. It happened for me. It must happen for the millions we educate across America. That's why I do what I do.
Well, thank you. You've heard it from the best. Here we are in the Council of Great City Schools, with the best superintendent in this nation, Alberto Carvalho, So glad to have you. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you In Depth with Davis, Superintendent Unplugged. Look forward to seeing you in the classroom.